our first look at an open division game on the stadium field here. The rubber crumb, the heat rising, and Benjamin Rees is running onto the field. Well, just offside of the field. He will be comparing you alongside myself, Hannah Pendlebury, for this matchup between KFK of Copenhagen. Although they've got a couple of North American athletes. Hello to you if you're joining our coverage from the first time, maybe. If you're a fan of Carlton Ultimate. But of course, they will be facing up against a very handy Italian squad. It is, of course, BFD La Fotta, as Benjamin Rees just jumps into the booth alongside myself. How are you feeling, Benji?
A little exhausted. We cleverly have bikes that we can use to get back and forth between the two pitches, because it's a bit of a way from the main site to here in the Olympic Stadium. Unfortunately, the bikes we touch it. So I had to arrive on field by. Happy to say I've made it for a game. I'm very excited.
Yes, indeed. I have to tell you, Benji, some of the players on KFK thought they might not get live streamed, yet they won the Patreon vote to be here.
Evidently, they're a bit more popular than perhaps they thought. So 80-minute games for the pool phase, and we go into 90-minute games for knockouts. Halves at 40, and both teams get 2 timeouts to take a half. It is a glorious day here in Wrocław. Sun beating down as we tick past midday. And as well, playing on the Astro here in the Olympic Stadium means that it just kind of tends to radiate that heat back out as well. Here's Laffy going towards the far sideline for Gasparini. Now Bardzassi ripping it underneath and now charging off downfield as Rossi looks and surveys his options. Fake down that far sideline. Bardzassi looking to the open side, nothing there, so he's just going to take the reset. Patient first possession here for the Italians. Laffy trying to mastermind the O-line and just about whips that flick under the potential footblock. And Laffy finds David Bardzassi to give Bologna La Fotta a 1-0 lead here. Strong early start here for a side that has title aspirations here this week. The Italian Open side picked up a 4th place finish out at EUC this year. And the Italian mixed, with a couple of these players representing, of course, took home a silver medal, a great result for a country that has not necessarily had a history of mixed ultimate. But a lot of these players are more at home in the open division, and they looked pretty at home on the Olympic Stadium turf on that point, Hannah.
Indeed, a solid hold. And speaking of the histories, going back in the annals of time, of course, many people will be familiar with the Danish team Ragnarok, to go back into the time. Of course, no longer representing for Denmark, but they came the closest to European Club Championship gold. They got the silver medal back in 2005.
First low point for KFK is going to begin from the brick line. And a brief stoppage here. Maybe a discussion about where the brick mark actually is. Can stay side. Sebastian Grant. Bring it in, being checked in on the mark. Finley Furman. As the Danes, with their American legends, of course, swinging around in the backfield. Miller. To the centre for Sverker. Now Furman. Pumps the flick downfield. Instead goes to Kasper Goldeye. And now Miller once more. Trying to marshal the offense, indicate how he wants things to work downfield. Miller has it in his hands once more. Taking the little dish off, just lovely shape on that around to Parker. Inbounds, and familiar with the USA reset, goes with the ground tap from the sideline, which is not required under WFDF rules.
Oh, let's not start the drinking game again.
And that one trying to squeeze it in there, but the layout block denies it. It looked so good up until that point. And then Riccardo Venturoli denies the Danes on the doorstep.
Yeah, really solid pressure and great match coverage there. Just really requiring KFK to be patient and put in quite the pass tally. And a gratuitous moving of the cone as well.
You can really tick off your commentary bingo cards, can't you?
Well, you just give yourself a, you take away your advantage. You can actually set up your pivot further into the pitch if you don't move the cone, but that's a straight cold drop.
Osprey there with just a straight up drop. That's one the Israeli will want back. And now just try to float little one. Leading pass there for Parker, but it just continues out of bounds. And another good opportunity there lost for KFK.
Bash him, deep of him, get over him.
This time the Italians want to stretch it on the turn, and they find it to Venturoli, who's only a couple of yards away from pay dirt. Potential marking infraction, and this time Osprey makes amends for the drop. Does he? No, still not quite in the end zone. Dumps back to Tognetti. Oh, we got the shape on that one a bit wrong. Was Venturoli able to land in bounds is the question, and I think he was not.
Yeah, really solid effort, but that one just had a bit too much lettuce on it. And you don't win friends with salad.
That is true.
Well, we always talk about mustard, all this sort of stuff. I don't know, it's just what came to mind, Benji.
No, I'm with you. I wish I did it first, but I'm down. So third chance for KFK to score their first point of the game. Finds Graham, and with the force a little bit step off, he's got space to rip the IO backhand. Good contest from Tognetti, but not good enough. Cummins brings it down, and then Barry drops it in the end zone. Both sides with some very unusual miscues.
That is a bad miss. And it's just a lack of focus in this point, Benji. The momentum is swinging back and forth, and not really what KFK want for their first offensive start.
Okay, this is the first game of the weekend for KFK. Fotta have played already in the first game round this morning, where they had a pretty comprehensive victory over Bristol 15-5, and I think it makes sense that with both sides having those miscues creeping in, that they'd want to take the time out here. Fossa so keen to try and get that early advantage on KFK. If they can shut the door early. 1-0 with a chance for a break here when we come back off the timeout.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that helped to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my God! Somehow they do it! There are so many reasons to outfit your team in Force beyond just looking the part of a champion. Force offers professional design services with their dedicated graphics team. All apparel is produced in France. Force works with a local labour team and their raw materials are sourced in Europe. Force insists on transparency with no hidden fees and international express shipping. Look the part and play the part with Force Sportswear.
EUCF from here in the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław. Open division action between BFD La Fotta from Bologna in Italy and KFK, the Københavns Frisbee Club from Denmark, as the deep shot for Tognetti might be too far for him to reel in. It was a spectacular layout. It won't count because there was a violation, but Tognetti didn't know that.
Absolutely gorgeous layout, perfect form. Might have a little bit of a turf graze, but not a turf burn, yet you see him checking out his knee there. Of course, the thing to be cognizant of in this game, especially as we reach the midday sun beating down here on this turf rubber crumb surface, it is gonna get really, really hot on the athletes on the field. So this long drawn out point in the early stages is really not ideal for either team, because it's a bit like the fiery pitch of Mordor back from EUC 2019,
don't
Benji.
remind me, Hannah. Do
Well,
not remind me.
You can't forget, never forget. But yeah, it got hot back in June.
So Crisafulli off the timeout. This time they do get in play. Okay, and Coerato in the backfield. Finds Maffioli. Pingu, as they call him, Luca Tognetti on the sideline. Simpson inside to Corazza. Swings to Coerato with the 0 on his back, and now Osri comes underneath once more. Osri to Venturoli, who I think maybe took a couple of extra steps, but everyone seemed okay for play to continue. Venturoli with the high toss into the centre for Tognetti, who is so often the anchor of the D-line offence. And then Corazza down the far sideline, finds Tal Osri. That one is going to stick, and it's a break for La Fossa, leading 2-0.
Well, I overheard the KFK pack talking through the strategy of La Fotta, the kind of styles they like to play. They're a big fan of a high stack, things like that. Really trying to say, you know, who the matchups are, but it seems like Bologna have got the numbers of this KFK side so far, putting on pressure. There are opportunities. I mean, heck, that big old drop from Barry directly in the end zone was less than ideal, to put it lightly, but it is the first point of the championship for KFK. They've got plenty of time to pull themselves together. As you see a cluster of Bristol and Smog athletes sat in the shade on the far sideline on your screen there. Of course, Smog will be playing next up here on the showcase field in the stadium. Pitch 11 on the schedule. And what's going on the other side of the stream? Is there anything exciting happening, Benji?
On our other streamed field, we have Clapham versus Bad Skid. How often have we seen those two sides match up over the years? Clapham have just taken a 3-2 lead in that contest.
Oh, well, we'll keep feeding you little bits of information. We won't spoil too much. But of course, we're ecstatic to have two fields of coverage here at this amazing championship.
It's the way it should be. The showcase event of the season, and getting an opportunity to show as much of it to you as possible right here live and free on ULTI.TV. And it means you can watch beautiful offense like that flowing in stride as Miller finds Pellegrini to get KFK's first point of the championship on the board, but they trail still 2-1.
Yeah, it really is a very international affair for this KFK side. We've talked already about the amount of Carlton folks on, but that's an Argentinian clutching that first goal of the game and championship for KFK. A 6'2" man, 31 years of old. He's a carpenter by trade, currently residing in Copenhagen and has been for quite some time. But he's actually from Argentina. He started, and it was actually the player and coach of the Open team representing that nation a couple of years ago.
Love seeing a bit of international flavour. You feel that he's probably
Yeah, more than used to the hot conditions we've got here this weekend in Wrocław, where it promises to be a scorcher all 3 days.
Well, today, but tomorrow, Benji, I checked the forecast last night to pick which shirt I wanted to wear today. It's going to rain.
That's good, because I actually packed for rain.
Me too. I mean, well, with Poland this time of year, you really pack for anything. There was availability for the players to camp if they wanted to, but there was a little caveat in that saying, it is September, it is Poland, you might want to think about getting yourself a hotel just in case.
Yeah, it could be wet, and if it's not wet, it could be very, very hot.
But certainly for Pellegrini playing for Volta, he'll have had plenty of experience in much more heated conditions than this. But is the game going to be heated, Benji? At the moment, La Fotta look pretty calm and comfortable with the disc.
Arturo Laffi walks the disc to the brick mark to get this next point underway. Dumps Davotsi wearing that pink visor that is so familiar. Here's Sarako. Trombetti comes underneath, threatens the break side option and goes down the centre of the field to Barzassi. Flowing this nicely in stride. Laffi just wants to float one out there. It was a good effort from Trostal, but in the end not quite close enough, and it is punched in to Riccardo Zani. La Fossa go up 2 once more at 3-1.
Well, a psychologist by trade, reading the matchup very well and just hitting that perfect moment on the back cone there. Of course, so many of these BFD La Fotta players are household names, and the Italians, my oh my, they've been doing pretty well at the national level in terms of their home nation. Of course, the last championship of nations even, that we saw, which was the EYUC, the European Youth Ultimate Championships, had plenty of Bolognese talent on it, and they did pretty well. If you've not checked out the final from EYUC, after this game or the next time you've got a spare 100 minutes or so, highly recommend you watch that game. The defense itself was just so impressive, just showing the strength of the Italian nation across the age divisions, and the future is bright and terrifyingly so, Benji. I'm very glad that I'm now Masters eligible and can run far, far away from these 20-somethings.
I think it doesn't matter what age, I'm not running away from anyone.
You never run away from a fight, Benji.
Here's KFK already churning their way just shy of midfield in the hands of Declan Miller. Cummins. As KFK feel like they've got a bit more stabilised in this contest. That's a little high release there. Just thread that inside lane, and that is a beautiful weave through. Picking the pass in the end zone, Nicholas Cummins scores to make it 2-3.
Now, I really much preferred that offense from KFK, and the word I'm going to use to talk about it is the spacing. They were really able to isolate each other, find the kind of windows to throw into. There is a very, very gentle breeze here in the stadium. Of course, playing on any stadium field, you have to be mindful of how the stands, how the kind of shapeliness of the building is going to change the way the wind moves, the pattern across the field. But generally speaking, a left to right, as our camera views have it. So that was a downwind point for KFK, but it's very much a thrower's breeze. You can pretty much put whatever you want out here. The elite level that we have at the European Championship finals, all of the players on the pitch are capable of banging it the full distance. But that was just really nice. Good patience from KFK, finding the spaces and using their North American connections very well.
KFK look like they're just trying to sort out their matchups defensively here.
Well, they have done the scouting, and we do have some support in our live chat. If you're tuning in, near or far, let us know where you're tuning in from, folks. Love to have you with us.
They're going to let the ball hit the floor, where Mastroianni, who I feel must be relatively warm wearing those tracksuit trousers, picks up and then clears through. And now Lorenzo Pavan putting a bit of air underneath it, looking for Mastroianni down the sideline. I'm not sure he would have been able to keep it in bounds, but the KFK defender did the right thing, Kasper Goldayer, and didn't give him the opportunity to even get a shot at it.
Well, Goldayer going for gold there. Of course, there's two of them on this team. Kasper
and Jakob.
Indeed. And the younger is called silver, jokingly, because gulda is obviously the first part of that is Danish for gold.
That makes a lot of sense. Little dish up the line there. KFK, maybe we'll try and get things off the sideline, or maybe they'll just look deep. Oh, the defender missed it. There's a layup play available, and Leo Xiao makes it emphatically. The defender just got caught a little bit underneath, and that meant that Xiao had the time to wait it, to judge it to perfection, and that is a KFK break.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like there was a little bit of fortune there. We talked already about this win, the thrower's breeze that they're going into. And I think that just the wind underneath that disc allowed it to hang that extra couple of heartbeats. But what a powerful throw that was out of the hands of Lawrence Hermitslev. And in terms of the man underneath it, well, of course, Xiao, one of the many North Americans on this side, has been playing for just shy of a decade, currently residing in Copenhagen, but he's a New York City boy. And of course, one of these cut players, plays his North American Ultimate with the club side Blueprint, if you've ever heard of them, Benj.
Nationals qualifier. Just last week, actually, at Northeast Regionals. A bit of an upset, taking the third place bid over teams like Sprout from the kind of the Amherst, Boston area, and Canadian powerhouse GOAT, of course, from Toronto.
We have a lot of time for Xiao because, of course, X, or X as he's known, he makes highlight videos for Cut himself, so he's a media man himself.
Aha, a man of taste, I see. Swung towards the far sideline for Zani. Zani finds Bardzasi, and Bardzasi wants to gun this one. He's looking for Seb Rossi, his favourite target, and in the stadium where they linked up to win gold at EYUC, what, 4 years ago now? In the under-20 Open Division, they combined once more to put Fotta back on top.
It was indeed 4 years ago, that 2019 championship where we saw French gold in the women's division, but Italian in the Open. I mean, Bardzasi is a man who can do it all. I hear he's been brushing up on his English, Benji, so he can try and get himself a ticket to North America. Maybe he can link up with some of these Carlton lads.
Yeah, I'll try and get that networking in.
But he's actually an ultimate sibling and has started playing because of his sister, Vanessa Bardzasi. But yeah, he's a big old man, and of course, really fun to watch. I think his last year of eligibility at the under-24s level back in Nottingham earlier on. Same for Sebastian Rossi, although I think he will be eligible perhaps in the next cycle. But he's come all the way through the juniors program, has Seb Rossi, from the under-17 days back in Ghent, the EYUC 2016, to now. Says he has no sporting heroes, just a lot of opponents to imitate and defeat.
He's a very competitive fellow, Seb Rossi, but also lovely lad too. Just nice. So they start the isolation, the bid comes in and doesn't get there. Thankfully for Fotta, they're not able to capitalise. Miller, the lead throws a little bit too far, and there was almost a second effort there, but Graham couldn't quite get past the defender. Oof. Swung into the centre from Tognetti to Comerato as Fotta looked to retake that 2-point lead. They just surrendered. Osri was very influential in their first game of victory, 15-5 over Bristol. And now Karatsa down the sideline, and I think he knew when he released it that he hadn't got it right.
Well, Maffioli having a go at a Callahan. A little bit of a limp wrist. Sorry, that's what I meant, sorry. Honestly, Benji, I don't even know which way's up at the moment. It's all happening.
It's that way.
Yes, having a go at his greatest. There you go. That's the Frisbee jargon I was thinking of, but I did not say.
Yeah, I think the discussion is going to be had here about whether the attempt was valid or not, and thus whether the disc should come in from the sideline or from where it is now.
in the live chat, shout out from Mozambique. Hello, Louise Booker.
Love that.
And of course, the big, strong Copenhagen contingent. The turnover immediately.
Yeah, that is a relative freebie for Fotta, and you cannot really afford to be giving a team of this quality those. Because usually they punch it in, but not this time. KFK again able to somehow get it back. This time it's the layout bid from Henrik Young.
A fend by trade.
Bastian Graham. Miller gives space to work underneath.
Not surprising to see Henrik Young getting big old blocks with the layout. Says his sporting heroes Joel Terry of Great Britain.
Oh, interesting. It's a good little tidbit, that. Pick called was during the throw, so the Commons will get it on this sideline. Slap bang in front of Cam 2. You can just see Noah in the bottom of the shot there as well. Violation, it seems.
Everyone get a bit hasty, because of course this would be another break to put BFD La Fotta in front by 2.
Spread towards the far sideline where Young is able to get it downfield to the Argentine Pellegrini. And Pellegrini's shot is denied. Came a bit more turnover heavy than perhaps we might have expected.
Well, it's a solid battle. I mean, certainly for a defensive break opportunity for La Fotta, you know, got some things to think about in terms of cleaning things up on your offense, but for KFK, the fact that they're getting the disc back is good, and that might be an opportunity for another.
Hucking into what double coverage, but it might not matter when you're throwing to Tognetti.
It did look like he had fantastic position. Certainly Pellegrini had to come over the top of the pack as we get another look at that previous turnover. Miller nearly with the save. But it did look to me like Camarata had fantastic positioning as he ran this one down. Let's get another look. That's Tognetti, of course. So perfect position underneath the disc. Yeah, that's quite clear.
I think Tognetti has that.
Well, the change of the rules, of course, for this EUCF is that one player from each team are allowed to review any media if they would desire to. So we have, I think, some people behind us that are going to watch it back.
Yeah, the idea is that, again, you should still be trying to keep the time limits. In the open final at EUC, it seemed to me like there was...
So obviously players are only allowed to give negative feedback watching it, so it would have to be a KFK player saying... and I can tell you the discussion that's happening behind us is that there's been a disagreement. One player thinks it's before, one thinks it's the same time, but either way, if it's the same time, Benji, that's the same as our opinion of the outcome on the field, because offense gets it. Yeah, yeah.
So hucking into triple coverage, and Pingu comes through regardless. And now a little flip to Osri, and Osri punches it into Karatsa, and the 2-point lead for La Fotta is restored.
Let's face it, even under triple coverage, Tognetti is a fantastic target to chuck the disc to. Mechanical engineering student currently. Although he's a multi-sport athlete, he just wanted to try something different when he came to Ultimate, and he's had a pretty handy career so far. He's represented the Italian nation at the under-20s and under-24s level. In fact, his career highlight thus far was that near miss against the USA back at the under-24s level.
I remember that well back in 2018 in Perth, and I mean that was a bit of a shock for many, because in the power pools USA kind of ran away with it, but it was a different contest in the final, and on another day that could well have gone the Italians' way.
Well, Tognetti is oftentimes the bridesmaid who says he's got more silver medals than any other ultimate player. I have a feeling that's probably not a correct
No, I feel
fact.
like there's a lot of Chevron players who might disagree with that.
Well, not this season.
No, very much not.
And of course, that's the others live stream at the moment. So you lucky folks, you can watch double ULTI.TV coverage as well as the VEO live streams. And if you need to get the links to those matches, you can find them in the bio on Instagram of the European Federation account. So they've got a nice little spreadsheet going.
Comments to Svek. Is going to slightly belatedly take the reset to the sunglassed Parker. Oh, a big tip on the hand there on the mark, and Lorenzo Gatti stuffs it out of the sideline. Cat-like reflexes from Gatti. And now the Frenchman, the World Games player, Canton Crash Roger. Sees the handler clear out up line, and it frees Pavan to go into the backfield, and now Pavan towards the far side to the big man Jan Novak. Novak running a 1-2 with Gatti into the end zone towards the back cone, and it is brought down by Sarako, and it is now 6-3 La Fotta. They have kicked into a different gear here, Hannah.
They absolutely have. Well, denial, pure straight up distilled denial from the hands of Gatti with that huge block just in front of our booth. I had a thought in my mind, Benji, that there might have been a little bit too much jet fuel on that rocket that went up the far sideline, but of course making it look easy. Sarako just reeling that one in very nicely indeed. So this Bologna side, of course, as always, coming out very impressive in the early stages. Although we saw a couple of flashes of their international athletes they've pulled out. Of course, Jan Novak, not a native of Italy by birth.
No, Austrian, I believe.
And of course, you already mentioned him, Crash as well, Quentin Roger from Corsept. He's a Czech man from the days have gone, and of course also represented with the Montreal Royals in the AUDL. He's been playing for 20 years and he's 29 years old.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
I know, you normally get those kind of stats coming out of North Americans. But lots of good live chat. Hello to you, El Shak, tuning in from down under.
As La Fotta go into their defensive toolbook and pull out the zone, which is ripped against by Shao. And it's a sky ball that the Italians come down with. A foul called on the contact, though, by Lawrence Yamitslav.
I can understand Yamitslav's point here. There is a big old bump to that chest in the last minute, but it does look to be relatively kind of straightforward. Two players jostling for the same space. And it was certainly a disc that was relatively, I'm going to put it out there, ugly, Benji. That was not how he drew it up.
No, it certainly, I think, floated more than he wanted. I think it's probably might always be going over his head. You can see behind us Tognetti and Christopher Gorda having a talk through.
Yeah, I don't think there's much room for a foul there, and they call it good on the field.
Yeah, so call retracted, La Fotta disc.
Nothing wrong with having the discussion. You've got to make the calls as you see them.
100%. I always think if you're not sure, talk about it, have the discussion, and you can always retract it if you, you know, with the benefit of hindsight, you can see that you were mistaken.
I tell you what, Benji, my jaw is agape. Did you see the blistering speed with which Lorenzo Gatti just ran away from all of the defenders there down this near sideline? That was tasty. The man is made of rockets.
Little inside through to Crash. Roger utilising that throw and go, gets the bounce back, and then continues into the end zone, and the layout was nearly perfect from Algisi, but not quite on this occasion.
Yeah, you can see there was a little bit of a sort of change of direction required there. Not the easiest throw to reel in, but it did hit him directly in the hands.
So they see the thread through the front of that defense all the way across the field, and now they're bouncing it back and forth in the center. Shao finds Furman, that backwards cycling. Miller again surveying his options, but not seeing too much going on downfield. They're just gonna be a bit more reticent to spread things open slightly. Now they've got a bit of motion going, but they put the lid on it. Yemit slow down the far sideline to Shao. There's the transition to match. Shouted rather emphatically from the sidelines for Bologna. Just a little plant of the shoulder. Yemit slow goes up line, but maybe a bit far, and the throw feathered out into the center. Furman rips the IO flick to Sverker. Sverker gets just outside the end zone. Miller with the simple dish. Finds Kasper Goller, and that is 6-4 KFK back on the board.
Well, it has been a little while. A run of 3 for La Fotta that they had to work for. Certainly that first break of score took quite the lengthy amount of time, but that is a really absolutely scintillating inside break. The hockey assist from Finn Furman then, just really setting up that play so very beautifully, and finished off by Kasper Goldager.
When you get that break slide motion and momentum going, especially if you get that kind of the tight vertical set downfield, the break space I should say, and it is able to just kind of keep things rolling in your favour.
Yeah, we definitely want break space, not break of face, but Furman's got a big old frame to put those breaks out. He's 6'4", just 19 years of age, a Seattleite, so he's had some experience with Sockeye, Emerald City. Says his career highlights foot blocking Daniel Chen, but is not really known for his big work downfield. Those inside breaks are what he loves the most.
So the disc is going to come in from the front of the end zone, in the hands of La Fotta. Votsi swings to Mastroianni, as it seems like KFK want to shift things defensively as well into the zone.
I like the choice of KFK to play zone here. It is just going to throw a different look at Bologna, and there is the turnover it generates, but a foul is being called on the throw.
Yeah, Mastroianni trying to pivot around the defender, maybe saying he got some contact as he tried to create that angle there. The arm's a bit rappy.
It's definitely a marking infraction, but I'm not sure it's a foul.
On the field, they are accepting the foul call. So reset still count back in Mastroianni's possession. Trying to work these 4-5 yard passes. Don't need to be overly expansive necessarily if the safe option is there. But the risk is that you let them get that pace going, and it can be so difficult to stop. Once it's rocking and rolling, that's a beautiful inside thread through from Trombetti. And now Votsi a few yards away from pay dirt. There's the option over to the back of the end zone if Votsi sees it. I wasn't sure he did until maybe too late, but Mastroianni catches it just over the defender and makes it 7-4.
Slightly gratuitous spiking action, but I don't mind it. It's a big hammer. I mean, you could see Mastroianni just hanging out, just bouncing around, those arms in the air. I mean, this is when it was really, really free. It's a little bit of a softer hammer. Could have been perhaps a touch more bladey. You can see where it flattens out there, opens up the window of opportunity for a potential block, but they hold on just about. But that was really great give going up this near sideline, Benji. The kind of just attack of the BFD handlers, just constantly replacing each other and really pushing with the legs through the zone. You've got two real options, well, three technically. When you're playing against a zone defense setup, you can push from the back with your legs, you can You make the disc do the hard work, throw lots of breaks, try and move it and swing laterally, or you can throw over the top. If you really back your receivers in the deep spaces, maybe you've got people trying to split if you've not got too much breeze. Initially, that zone paid off, but I think it was a little bit of looseness from the cup. It needed to close in and really crash in with the players moving through from behind. But that will take BFD within one of the half.
Parker. Looking very swish in those shades. Swings back to Furman and now in Parker's grasp once more.
Yeah, he actually picked those up at EUCR. He's not lost a game in them yet, but they might break the spell now.
Well, 40 minutes has elapsed, so we will have a half-time cap at 8, so business as usual. Faking the hammer over the top and then just dishing off to Sverker. Oh, wanted the little short one through there. It was denied by who else but Tognetti. And Osri with the simplest of pops finds Venturoli, and that is an 8-4 half-time lead for La Fotta. And both sides kind of took a little bit of time, I think, to get into full stride, but now they have. This La Fotta outfit looked tough to stop.
They really do, Benji, especially the pinning there, the short field turnover. I mean, you never want to turn over early in a point or with a short field for your opponents if you can help it. I mean, I'm not advocating puck and D in these conditions because it is such a light breeze. It's a nice warm day. Not perfect conditions in Alton, maybe a few more clouds, but certainly that is going to be dominated more or less every single time unless one of your athletes can make a huge play. But we have seen that so far in this game. Can KFK bring themselves back in the second half, Benji? I just don't know.
That is the big question. So 8-4 La Fotta with a half-time lead. Can the Copenhagen outfit find a comeback? We'll see when we come back with you for the second half.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Yes, he will.
The lovely did.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world and beyond.
Wait. Isn't this for the other apparel? We've got like new stuff, right? Bring it, bring it. Feast your eyes on the new fan version of our iconic ULTI.TV sweatshirts. Great fan gear available for you. Check out our new range of colors and insist on staying warm and looking fresh. Shipping is available after EUCF. Get your fan gear and be one of us.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finny, he's done it.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Welcome back to ULTI.TV's coverage of EUCF 2023. We are live from the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław, and we are bringing you open division action between Fotta and KFK, and there is the story of the first half stats for you, powered by our friends at Force Sportswear. See there, the 4 breaks for Fotta compared to just the 1. They've been a bit cleaner on offense, and the big one for me is look at the differential in those break chances.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Benji, you expect this from Fotta's O-line. They have been picture perfect so far during the course of this game. Not a single slip. There was that moment where there was the question of whether, the foul call with the zone point that KFK came out with that then went on to get completely obliterated. But we love to have a little bit of action in our live chat. Big shout out to, I think Cole S. and Liam Dunn might be big fans, of a certain Mr. Parker. And Irene Scazzieri tuning in from San Francisco, so plenty of North Americans, and of course some love for the Fotta from the Italian nation. I'm sure we're all tuning in. Whether you're hiding your device from your perhaps people, your managers at work, the under the desk ultimate, maybe the Bluetooth head speaker in. Nice to have you with us.
By the way, that's commitment from. I mean, there might be other West Coast US people watching, but Arena, based in San Fran, of course, playing with Fury this season, sealed up their nationals berth last weekend. It's like 5 in the morning there.
Indeed, but I'm sure
not even 4 in the morning because we're in Europe. I've just remembered.
As great as North American Ultimate is, I'm sure she is slightly sad not to be here representing the shout.
That's either a very late night or a very early morning. I think I know which one I'd prefer. In the second half here, KFK just trying to piece through another Fotta zone. Shao has an open shot on this sideline in Graham. Miller gets the bounce back. Graham tries to leak through this near side, but they're finding these soft spots nicely. Just trying to keep things ticking over, not get bogged down, transition into the single coverage. Sideline calls to get set into a vertical system. There's a pick. I was going to say, looked like that one might be coming, and it is cool.
Well, we overheard the KFK team talk at half-time, trying to get some shade on. They are looking much more effective when they are in a vertical position, as long as they can keep their spacing effectively.
Zhao. Going back to Miller, uses the offhand to get back into Shao, and the two of them just playing catch between one another at the moment. If they don't stop it, why not? Now Pellegrini's getting involved. Defenders get caught wrong side and allow Shao the space for the lead pass to Christopher Sverker in the end zone. And the clean hole to begin the second half for KFK. That is what the Danes needed.
Absolutely, Benji. That was a beaut of that lead pass. A very difficult one to execute with a forehand pass as well. The kind of just hang time on it, the shapeliness. Just look at that, the kind of release point, the way his hand bounces back. You gotta love it. He's been playing since he was 10 years old with a 9-year-long career.
I mean, that's the thing you see more and more actually, that players are just starting the game so much younger now. So by the time you're getting to college level, that you're already you've got that really good top level experience, and it means that you're not coming in and maybe feeling a little bit overawed by it. You're so much more comfortable with your surroundings.
Indeed, and Christopher Sverker, with plenty of years of experience, is 35 years old. So the other end of the age spectrum, of course, now Masters eligible. So perhaps he'll be representing at that age division, but still hanging tough with the seniors. And of course, one of the long-standing members of this KFK side.
Yeah, and you can of course watch coverage of the European Masters Ultimate Championships from Bologna in a couple of weeks' time, live and free on ULTI.TV. Cheeky little one through that front line there. And this looks so fluid for Fotta, just taking the open options wherever they are, and the quick release out of the hand of Bardzasi finds Grossi, and it was almost like there was no defense at all.
Well, that is what you get with an extremely well-oiled unit like Fotta. I was going to talk about it in the last point, actually, but didn't quite get the opportunity. Got distracted by a certain amazing throw with the forehand. But I think the difference when you're seeing Fotta playing against the zone coverage and the KFK offensive flow against the zone is that there is so much more flow in the Italian side. The trust that they have, they see the field in a different way because they're so familiar with each other. They know what the game plan is. They are very well drilled. I think KFK, they have probably got some talent. The top of their roster can definitely punch for punch alongside Fotta, but it's the connections aren't quite as well honed there. Certainly, the North American athletes have been living in Copenhagen. All of these kind of, extra nationalities we're seeing on this Danish roster, they are very much in there, but they just don't have the same familiarity, and that is what is giving them the moments of pause that the Italians are exploiting.
So 9-5, Fotta leading early in this second half. Early timeout here called. A little surprising because I kind of feel like we haven't necessarily seen enough ultimate in the second half to maybe warrant taking the timeout. But for KFK, the way that zone was sliced apart, not necessarily a bad opportunity to think, okay, we can take one here. A, get our offense a little bit more time to take a breather, and B, try and find out how we can tinker that defense to cause the Italians some more problems. KFK have already broken their huddle. Fotta just getting their 7 on.
Indeed, they've got a job to do, have KFK. Certainly trailing by 3 breaks of score against any team, but we're expecting Fotta to end up right at the pointy end of the championship bracket. As you see, a little bit of dancing there. Bardzasi alongside Casanelli, just really enjoying the scenes here. Of course, Italy known for its heat, certainly EYUC back in Padova. We had breaks in the middle of the day to avoid the worst of it. So being on this rubber crumb turf will not faze them whatsoever.
I must admit, while I was obviously, sad to not be at EYUC, I was kind of enjoying not melting, so certainly not a problem for Fotta. Miller as Fotta again, not starting one-on-one, going with a zone defense.
Well, the Italian playbook is crammed full of different zone looks they can bring at you.
Leading shot all the way across the field, too far for the target. Osri, he wanted to pull the trigger quickly. He couldn't do it first, but he can do it second. And Tognetti just sits the disc on that cone. Almost like a holder setting up for a field goal, as Fotta now 10-5, doubling up their opponents, and it looks like a clean sweep of their pool opponents and a place in the quarterfinals is almost sewn up already.
Yep, the Italians are looking mighty fine here. You could see that attempt to open up the zone, but it almost looked like it was just a little bit of a give up, dare I say it, from Nicholas Cummins. Just kind of trotting that one down, thinking, no, I don't really fancy laying out for that. It is first game of the day for KFK, so you wouldn't expect them to be kind of, for tiredness to be an issue here. It's just a case of perhaps maybe getting a little bit overwhelmed by the moment at this stage, because they definitely have the talent. It's on the roster, and certainly we overheard Pellegrini trying to get them involved, get them G'd up, try and be kind of the vibes coach of this KFK side, but at the moment we certainly knew that Fotta were going to come out ready and prepared, and they certainly are showing that.
So Miller catching the pull, Little flip to Furman to begin the possession, and now back in Miller's clutches. Sverker threads through to Parker. A little bit behind, but Parker adjusts, and now Furman once more. Actually, you can see some of the cut affiliation with wearing the Carlton shorts. As that one down the line, big bid comes in, but not big enough to prevent Graham from getting there.
Is there anyone who can?
Not many.
He's a big lad.
Graham back to Furman. Now Miller. Down the line, oh, and this time it's Parker's turn to see the disc snake through his clutches.
That is such a shame, and Liam Dunn's not going to love it. But I'll still probably give him a shout out in the comments anyway. That is a big old swing and a miss for Parker, but that is the second one that's just a really easy clap catch that's been spooned for KFK. I think it's just a case of, I say, they're letting the moment get away from them. They didn't quite come in as hot as they usually do, but can they bring it back, Benji? And show us what they're made of.
They've certainly got the talent, but it is a tough, tough task. The straight up knife there.
Love it.
From Roger, and if he turned his head around a split second earlier, he could have had a redemption, but this one looks too far. No! The speed across the ground from Gatti makes it an 11-5 La Fotta lead. It looked too zippy, but Gatti clearly had other ideas.
I talked about it before. It is an absolute stunner, the speed on that man. It's just so fast. Whatever he's doing, I mean, I don't think he's on the gram showing off exactly what it is that powers him. But whatever it is, whatever his food of choice, etc., you've got to get yourself some of that. It's magical to watch. Just his catch-up speed, just blistering pace. But also a nicely weighted throw again. I think the Italians exploiting this very, very gentle breeze going upwind. They are really putting the disc out with lead and space on it. They're not trying to hang it. Of course, we saw KFK come unstuck earlier stages against that zone when they were trying to hit into the pocket of Loritz Hermitslev. It was that, you know, showing the underside of the disc, far too much curvature on it, and it just was never going to be a play they could make. But when the Italians are throwing into the breeze, they're putting lots of spin, lots of touch, and leading it out just so that they can watch their athletes run it down.
So the pull court for Bricks to bring us back in play. Not a surprise to see La Fotta again ask KFK to try and solve this zone. Is Yamitslo. A little bit of dumping and give going. And the wind up from Troop too far for Gorda.
Well, in compare and contrast, that just needed a little bit more touch on it. Although the breeze had maybe died down a little bit in that moment.
I'm not convinced that even with a slightly stronger breeze, it would have been enough to get there.
Yeah, it just needs a little bit of recalculation.
Recalibration. Tognetti to pick up from the sideline. Zips the hammer across the field. And Maffioli. You can see there's so much energy and verve and vigor about the Bologna offense after the turn. Osri gets a little bit of a bump from behind and goes for the offhand backhand to lead Tognetti into the end zone. Some creativity. Gives a 12-5 lead to La Fotta. And surely now, this is game for the Italians.
I don't think there is a shadow of doubt in many people's minds. Perhaps some of the folks in the live chat will still have belief. But yeah, I mean, the confidence of this one, also throwing that offhand, inside backhand to Tognetti. You'd love to see the confidence, but the energy you're talking about with the counter-attack from La Fotta, that is what all these BFD teams do. It really is about the quick contra-attack. As soon as you get an opportunity, getting on it, having energy, powering yourself forward. And that is exactly what we just saw La Fotta do. I think it is a tricky one for KFK. They are starting to change up the lines a little bit. We're seeing more of a difference in personnel. Certainly for Troop, not able to execute that throw in exactly the fashion he wanted to. Of course, been playing for quite some time, but more of a handler defender by trade rather than coming out to start on offense. I know for some people, obviously, the quality and caliber of both these teams, you know, there's no kind of like soft people on any of the rosters, any soft matchups truly to speak of. But certainly when you're playing out of position, I mean, some people need a good run around before they can go and play offense. I include myself in that category.
So the ball fielded just inside the end zone by Miller. Graham is the first option. It feels like any pool plays that KFK might have hoped to cook up have been stifled well by the Italian defense. Break around to Blanco. And Blanco back to Graham. Fakes the dish as there is a pick away from the disc.
Yeah, I think most of the picks we've seen have been when we've got match coverage and KFK have the disc. But again, it just goes to show how good this Italian spacing is and the discipline of their playbook.
Pellegrini. The swing goes all the way around from Graham to Young. Now Blanco. Another Argentine representing KFK. Miller. There's a little sneak through to Barry, and the disc is dished off, and then try to sneak that one through. A big long arm of Lorenzo Pavan picks the pocket. Pavan shows the hammer and quickly puts it back in the toolbox. Novak around to the far side. Everything looking rhythmical until then, as Pellegrini emphatically denies. But La Fotta get it right back, and Roger has seen enough, and he wants the breather and the timeout. So 12-5 the score here. La Fotta looking to extend that advantage and close out this game against KFK. ULTI.TV live from the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław. We are here for EUCF 2023 pool play matchup in the Open Division. KFK staring down the barrel of defeat here against La Fossa as the Italians have another break chance. This would make it a 13-5 scoreline. KFK had a clean hold to start the second half and have not scored since then. This could be a 5-point run if the Italians can convert, although it's a Frenchman to bring it in. Quentin Roger. They cleared the space down the line, looking for Gatti. What a tip that is by Miller. Graham collects the seconds. The curse of the turnout has come to Wrocław. Blanco going across the field. And that time Pellegrini just waited a bit too long. Didn't realise quite how close Simonazzi was as Gatti stretching it for Simonazzi. And that one is going to work. 13-5 La Fossa. What a performance. What a performance.
Well, we hadn't seen a single turnover from BFD La Fotta up until this point in the second half. They had been absolutely ruthless, but a couple of plays from KFK really just, I said a couple of points ago, I think, Benji, this is now the opportunity for KFK to show us what they're capable of. And certainly here, you saw that one perhaps a little bit dialed in, with the huge block, swinging with that right hand and backed up as well by Kram. You love to see that kind of action, but this one, just that little bit of hesitation for Pellegrini, and off to the races he goes. A little stumble as well, just to show exactly how ripped apart he got. But Simonazzi bookends in a single pass.
Not bad, that.
Pretty good, mate. He's pretty good at frizz. But then these are the names we are used to saying. Whereas KFK, a quality side, of course, qualifying through here. But the Danish side, obviously a much smaller nation in terms of their ultimate participant numbers. They have fewer folks to choose from. But this is not to just besmirch any of them. They've, of course, brought this big squad. Lots of the Carlton Ultimate players coming alongside. And plenty of Carlton supporters in the chat, as well as our Italian fans.
Yeah, Carlton, of course, enter 2 teams into the college division in each division, men's as it is in the States, and women's. Because they're a small enough school to actually qualify for the D3, so they enter a Div 1 team, which is cut, and a D3 team as well, which rebranded recently, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of, but I'm sure I will be. I will be
told in the live chat.
Yes.
Yep.
And please do. I love learning new things and love being corrected. So get on that.
Get off him! Yes, and one baby, let's go!
Well, there's an explosion on the sideline from Nathan Parker.
I think he's just trying to keep the energy up. Fair play.
Yeah, a little bit just wrapping in the legs, Simonazzi getting up in the business.
Unfortunately, they can't send Shao to the free throw line, but worth a go. Dished laterally. The Danes again. I thought there was an injury call by the way he was stopping like that, but evidently not.
I have to say, Benji, I'm not a big fan of the number of marking infractions that have crept into this point. Lots and lots of big bumps, sort of mid-stool.
Something there to clean up, as that's a risky blade into a very dangerous area, but it goes right into the gut. And they're faking the down-the-line option. Thrastal. Shao again showing the hammer, this time thinks better of it, goes back to Briggs. And it's been methodical, but they have made their way to midfield. Shao saw the point, the hands from Golaer. And they're maybe waiting for the melt to match. And they've now got it. Tight on the sideline. Can they find a way to get the disc off, or will they try and squeeze it down there? They do indeed. Thrastal top looking for Shao at the back of the end zone. and the back line defeats him.
Well, nothing else could in that point. Shout really putting in an absolute shift there. I really like this strategy for KFK now against the zone. They are trying to throw over the top, use a little bit of that lovely spacing we saw. You could see the dismay on Zhao's body positioning there, just really sad. He'd got himself free, there was an opportunity, but just a little bit too much boost.
Wotzi's taking his time in collecting this one as you can see the heat waves rise off the rubber crumb surface here.
Well, you've not got long left in terms of the game clock, just 10 minutes to punch 2 points on the board and take it all the way to the cap. And KFK still yet to score in the second half, Benji.
It was tight at the top, and since then, Bologna have run away with it. And they're looking to try and run away with this one as well. Down the center of the field, rising and elevating, and not quite in the end zone, despite the celebration, is Mattioli, but he resets his feet. He finds Saracco, 14-5, one away from the win.
Wow. I mean, there's not really anything to be said about that. I think it's a difficult one because certainly not only do La Fotta have the extra bit of confidence with having ripped this one open, they have a 9-point lead in the game over their opponents, which is really a whole thing.
KFK are a good opponent.
They are. But it's Mattioli, the kind of just the confidence with which he goes up, and it's the same thing for all of their big receptions, even when the disc is a little bit quirky, which is happening a little bit more often. Shooting downfield, they're putting some up that are perhaps contested discs. For any other team, maybe more of a 50-50 shot. But something in this La Fotta offense, Benji, whether they're coming out to start the point on O or D, is just giving them almost like a weighting, like it's changing the dynamic. It's no longer a 50-50 disc. It's more like a 70-30. There is a window of opportunity that KFK are taking. They are getting a couple of moments, and certainly in the mid stages we had that 5 turnover point. But more often than not, if something goes up, it is an Italian shirt that's going underneath it, and Bologna is taking the disc away.
Yeah, we're seeing more of the Italian O-line. Crossover to play defense now as Bart Zassi comes over to pull. Furman Fields and finds Sverka. Sverka wants the deep ball. Has he got it on line to Graham? Oh, baby, has he? What a throw, what a cut. KFK are not going to be blanked out of the second half. Finally, belatedly getting one on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just said they're a quality opponent, are KFK, not to be underestimated in this tournament. Of course, this is the first game of the championship for the Danish outfit, and that is just an absolute peach. Full field, proper Dane connection. Sverka putting it up for Bastian Kram. Of course, just 21 years old, got a big old Frisbee career ahead of him.
He's had a decent career so far, to be fair.
Absolutely. Saw him at the EUC.
And I've seen him at, he's been at EYUCs in the past and under 24s, and it's kind of one of those places you look at him and be like, how is he still only that age?
Yeah, it's terrifying. Terrifyingly good ultimate. And we are very excited to watch, of course, Kram's career as it unfolds. Sverka, obviously, we've already mentioned at the other end of the senior athletes' age spectrum. But you do get the odd Nordic who just continues playing well into their, what for any other sport would be their golden retirement years, when you sort of, sit back and enjoy the action of the youngsters. And that is a solid pull that's going to land, no, just out of bounds, Benji. But if that had been in, that would have been pretty great.
Unfortunately, it is the brick, and Wotzi in the pink visor will stride forward with a chance to end things here.
Indeed. And there might be some more pink visors out and about after the World Great Grandmaster Championships. That was one of the player gifts.
Yeah, but I don't know how many people here were old enough to be representing.
Oh, I don't know. They might be donated down. But it's a hot look.
I must admit, I am jealous. Bart Zassi underneath. so often the initiating option, but he leathers one down the line for Rossi. That was too far out in front.
Yeah, you could see as soon as that left the hand, the level, knowing that you've got that gentle downwind breeze as well, it's going to further push it down. Had a lot of laser on it. That was never going to be coming in unless it had some inhuman bid on the back of it.
And we've seen Seb Rossi do it before, but not on this occasion, as that time the bid is in and out of Trostal's hands. Pavan with the quick pickup. Goes offhand back to Votsi. Things looking a bit congested downfield, but they're able to continue swinging around the back. Oh, Rossi was falling over as he threw it, but he's able to get the release off. And from there, Pavan punches into the end zone for the score and the win. Who else but Zassi to ice things 15-6. What a Fotta performance. Those early offensive miscues were banished with aplomb.
Well, Benji, fun fact for you, that turnover at the paws of David Barzasi was the solitary turnover from the offensive line of La Fotta in this game. But true to form, and I think this is probably, a reflection of the game, KFK get the turnover, but unfortunately immediately they get turned back and the disc back in the opponent's hands. But what a great performance from the Italians, picking up all the break chances, 16-2, converted just over half of them, 9 breaks in total.
And that's pretty good. And to be fair, KFK's break percentage conversion percentage isn't bad. 50%'s, respectable, but they just did not generate anywhere near enough break chances.
Well, that's
partly because they couldn't get La Fotta's O-line back out on the field.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I know the successful D points for the KFK D line is 28% rate. 71% of the points coming out on defense for La Fotta. Yes, they had a lot more of them, 14 versus 7, so that's double. But the biggest stat on the board has got to be that conversion rate for the Italian defense of 9 out of 10. 10 points they turned over KFK, 9 of them they were able to convert. So hats off to the Italians. We, as per our preview show, expect them to go very deep into the pointy end, but we'll see how KFK turn out as well. There is still an opportunity in this new format for the Open Division for redemption wherever you end up in these initial pools of 3.
Yeah, you still get a chance, even if you finish 3rd, get a crossover with a 2nd place pool team. Who that might be, of course, remains to be seen for KFK. They do still have one more pool game against Bristol, which they will look to bounce back in. But for now, we're going to take a little bit of a break before our next game. That starts in just under 20 minutes' time. Over on field 1, it'll be mixed division action between Monkey and Tartu Turbulence, while we are going to have the hometown heroes Flow from right here in Wrocław taking on Smog from the UK. It's sure to be both very interesting games, and if you want to watch that, well, all you have to do is stay right here on YouTube, because of course all our coverage this weekend and all of ULTI.TV's coverage is free to watch. So make sure that you're liking the videos, that you're subscribing and getting notifications, so every time ULTI.TV goes live you can be right there. There's a newsletter we send out as well with all the live Ultimate going on from around the world. And as well, if you want to find out more and help support ULTI.TV in the mission of bringing live Ultimate and spreading the game as far and as wide as we can, patreon.com/ULTI.TV is the place to be. Final score here in the Open Division pool action is La Fotta 15, KFK 6. ULTI.TV will see you on the other side.
You pull me back into your rivers with my little need to breathe with my head underwater.
Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.
Freezing outside, a little bit high on the feeling. Can't seem to focus. In the corner of my best friend's sofa, you were getting buzzed on rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Prettier from the minute that I met you. Smoking outside, trying to get your attention. You make me nervous. In the corner of my best friend's sofa, you were getting buzzed on rum and cola. Wasn't brave enough yet just to talk to you. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Prettier from the minute that I met you. I know that we just met the other night, but I can't get you off my mind. Not a smooth talker under pressure. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Prettier from the minute that I met you.